Hello everyone, and it's so nice to see you all here today. I want to talk about a very interesting topic in today's video, and it's about how exercise can actually improve your mood and reduce depression. So this is a very interesting topic, and I'd like to talk about the research as well behind it. Exercise can definitely improve your mood. You already know that. We already talked about it, right? It can make you happier. It increases the amount of regulatory neurotransmitters like serotonin, norepinephrine, and dopamine, right? And for example, things like serotonin and dopamine are both related to mood. And so when you exercise, you actually feel better because both of these neurotransmitters are associated with mood, and so you get a higher amount of those, or better stated, the proper amount, the right balance of all these three neurotransmitters, and the right amounts of serotonin and dopamine, which is important for mood and feeling good, right? On top of the endorphins, the feel-good hormones that are released from exercise, up to 40 of them. It's crazy. So definitely exercise to feel better. Now, why is this a problem? Because depression is experienced by 17% of adults in the United States of America, and many actually commit suicide. In fact, each 17 minutes, someone commits suicide. I think that's actually a crazy amount, and WHO, right, the World Health Organization, states that literally every I forget what it was, but I think 11 or 15 seconds in the world someone commits suicide. So every 17 minutes in the US. So if we can do something about it, that would be huge. And depression is a huge risk factor for suicide. It increases the risk of it. And since 17% of adults in the US, that's a huge amount, right? And so we definitely need to fix it. It's actually even a bigger amount than other chronic conditions. And so through depression research, doctors learned a lot about exercise in the brain. And exercise has been shown to assist with depression and improve mood. For example, in 1999, a Finnish study with 3,403 people, and that's why I like these studies. They have a high sample size, and they show that those who exercise at least 2 to 3 times a week experience significantly less depression, anger, stress, and cynical distrust than those who exercise less or not at all. So just 2 to 3 times a week can reduce symptoms and the severity of depression, as well as things like anger, etc. Because as you know, by increasing serotonin is actually involved in impulsivity and self-control. So you're gonna increase your frustration tolerance, and you're gonna reduce the anger as well, and you're gonna feel better after exercising. Okay, as well as cynical distrust goes down. Your relationships actually improve people as well. And then there's another study also done in 1999 by Duke University, and this is a really cool one. About 100 individuals, I think it was 156, who are moderately depressed and sedentary, were put into 3 groups. One involving Zoloft, which is an antidepressant. The second group had Zoloft combined with exercise, and the third group had exercise only. So it was 70 to 75% of their max heart rate on a treadmill. I think it was around 3 times a week, I think, for 30 minutes or so. And so all 3 groups actually had similar effects in terms of reducing depression. And Blumenthal actually repeated this study later and got similar results. In fact, he showed that people who had depression were free from depression in the exercise group even longer than from the antidepressant Zoloft, and had a lower relapse rate. So that is an amazing study involving a good amount of people to add to the Finnish study, showing that yes, exercise is indeed helpful for depression, but not only that, it's actually as effective as antidepressants, or even more effective than antidepressants, and that's really cool. So exercise, as you know, also increases the levels of endorphins, which are feel-good hormones in our brain, and changes our brain chemistry in such a way to increase our focus via serotonin and dopamine, our sharpness, our alertness, mood and motivation via increase in dopamine, of course, as well as elevating neurotransmitters, like I mentioned, right, which are norepinephrine, dopamine, and serotonin, right? And norepinephrine can also help with attention and focus. And then it also increases BDNF, which is implicated in learning, right? Memory, all that, allowing us to better learn information, and also balances our mood and our stress. BDNF was actually associated with a reduction of cortisol in hippocampal neurons that are associated with mood. So that's how BDNF plays a role in our mood. And of course, as we saw previously, also with stress, and that's the benefit of exercise. It can actually make us stronger, right? BDNF produces antioxidants, and actually we feel more resilient to future challenges, and so that's how exercise is actually good for stress as well. And as we saw for anxiety as well, by reducing cortisol, right? We saw VEGF, right? And the fibroblast growth factor produced during exercise is very important in quelling the cortisol response, right? And so exercise is very important that way, and BDNF definitely helps with that. So it's important for mood, stress, and anxiety reduction. And also you feel good about yourself, and that we feel good that we do something good for our body, that's something good for us, and so we feel more connected to the world as well. Our relationships improve. We actually get out of the tunnel, so to speak, and so our life just becomes better, right? There's a feedback down loop and up. So there's by exercise, you're sending signals from your body to the brain, and then your brain sends signals to the body where you reevaluate yourself, helping you embrace life more and committing yourself to things, living with more of a purpose, right? You're actually changing your neuron connections from negative thoughts, and as we saw in last video, from the fear, and in case of depression, from negative thinking and negative emotions, to more positive ones, allowing you to embrace life more, seeking new opportunities, getting out of that shell, looking for that job, improving your relationship with your partner, etc. Your life just changes. You begin to embrace it more. You dedicate yourself to something. You live with more purpose, etc. So again, you increase these three neurotransmitters, which are important for mood and motivation and attention, but you also increase BDNF, which is so important for learning and reduction of stress and anxiety, etc. Memory, learning, and as well as neurogenesis, and you literally also help form new neurons and also produce antioxidants, as we saw via BDNF, feeling more resilient. We saw exercise as a hormetic stressor that also helps us grow stronger to future challenges and become more resilient to stress. So there's so much benefits to exercise, but the big one that we're talking about here is an increase in mood, and you really feel good, as these studies from 1999 showed with big sample sizes, that literally exercise does indeed work. In fact, it works as good as antidepressants in making you feel perfect. And by the way, that study from 1999, the Duke study, with Blumenthal, right? That study was actually called the SMILE study, and I think the SMILE study illustrates really well how exercise really reduces the severity of depressive symptoms. And actually, another person by the name of Trivedi and Dunn showed, I think it was later in the 2000s, if I'm not mistaken, that actually exercise is really, really good, and it actually, those that burned 1,400 calories reduced their exercise severity by 50%. This is the high intensity group, which exercise intensity also matters. versus the low intensity group that burned 560 calories a week only had a third reduction. And so he did a formula, prescription, where you take a number of calories and you multiply it by 8. So you can determine the amount that you weigh in pounds, multiply it by 8, and that's the amount that you have to burn a week. So if you weigh around 150 pounds, that's around 30 minutes of moderate aerobic intensity exercise, moderate intensity on most days of a week, right? If you weigh a bit less than 150 pounds like myself, then you don't even have to do that much to reduce symptoms of depression by 50%. And Blumenthal also, as part of the Duke study in 1999 and 2000 when he followed up, he also added this comment that for every 50 minutes of exercise that you get extra, you literally reduce depression by an extra 50%. And I think this stat is really, really amazing. It does show that doing, exercise on most days, following the prescription of 1,400 or your weight times 8, like your life depends on it, really reduces depression by 50%. And the Finnish study showed it as well. All of these studies contribute to together to the benefits of exercise as medications, as antidepressants for reducing depression. And the biology is there too. You're just increasing the production of endorphins, feel good hormones, and you actually feel good as a result. So exercise like your life depends on it. Make sure to burn 8 times your body weight per week, and know that you will reduce anxiety, feel better, and get the whole slew of benefits that exercise provides on top of making you feel good.